Hi there, welcome back to the channel. I'm the GCSE science teacher, and in today's lesson, we're going to be discovering all things to do with specialized cells. Content covered today includes specialized animal cells, specialized plant cells, and cell differentiation. So let's get started. So, looking at specialized animal cells, the key ones you need to know about are going to be discussed today. Let's start off with muscle cells. They're really, really important to help coordinate the movement of the human body and other organisms as well. They contain lots of mitochondria to release energy for muscle contraction, and the energy is essentially released from glucose molecules, the chemical energy found within those bonds of glucose when they're broken down. There are three different types of muscle tissue you need to be aware of. So, the first one is smooth muscle found in the digestive system, cardiac muscle found in the heart. And those two types of muscle tissue are involuntary contraction. So, they don't require us to think about contracting. Which is great because obviously they're found in those two places, which we wouldn't want to forget about contracting or beating the heart. That would be not a great idea for us. We also have skeletal muscle, which is found in places that we probably think more often about muscle. So, biceps, triceps, quadriceps, they obviously are able to be contracted by thinking about it if we want to. We then have another type of specialized animal cell, which is a nerve cell. There are three different types that you need to be aware of. So we have the sensory neuron, which connects the receptors to the nervous system. We also have relay neurons, which connect the central nervous system to the sensory neuron and to the motor neuron. And the last one is the motor neuron, which connects the neurons to the muscle cells. Now, those three neurons we'll talk more about in future videos, but the main thing you need to be aware of is how are they adapted for their function? Well, their function is to pass information on quickly around the body and coordinate a response to the environment. And the way they do that is that they have two main adaptations to be aware of. So, an insulating fatty sheath, which speeds up the rate of impulse, and long branches, often called dendrites or axon terminals. And these are useful in connecting one neuron or two neurons to different types of places in the body and to other neurons as well. Last but not least, on this slide, we have the sperm cell, and this is made in male individuals in the testes. Okay, so one of the adaptations for the sperm cell is the acrosome. This contains digestive enzymes used to break down the cell membrane. The nucleus of a sperm cell is what we define as haploid, meaning that only half the genetic information is found there. The other half comes from the egg cell. So when the egg and sperm cell fuse together, the nuclei, they fuse together, they actually become diploid cells. And that allows for the cell to divide over and over and form a fetus. Mitochondria are also found in a plentiful supply in the sperm cell, and that's because the energy that's needed for that sperm cell to actually swim towards the egg and fertilize it. And again, to help with that process, a tail is found for movement. Some other examples of specialized animal cells, often found in other types of curriculum areas. So, if you're studying EdXL or OCR, these two cells are often mentioned as well. So, it's worth mentioning them today. Ciliated epithelial cells are found in the respiratory system, so in the trachea usually. They have hair like projections called cilia, which actually waft mucus away from the airways. Mucus is like a sticky substance that traps dust particles and pathogens or microorganisms that cause disease. And that's very helpful to us to clear our throat. They also contain mitochondria, again, for energy. The egg cell is again a haploid cell like the sperm cell, and it has a very rich cytoplasm that has lots of nutrients in for cell growth. It also has lots of mitochondria, again, for energy, for growth of the cell. And its cell membrane is very specialized because it has the ability to change once a sperm cell can fertilize that egg cell. The cell membrane changes so that only one sperm cell can enter the egg and fertilize it. Another specialized animal cell, this is the last one. It is the red blood cell, probably my favorite because it is not like the others. It does not have a nucleus, and this is because it contains a protein called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is vital for picking up and allowing oxygen to bind to it so that it can move oxygen all around the body to the respiring cells. Remember, respiration needs some oxygen to break down glucose for more of efficient breakdown and release of energy. Red blood cells also have very thin cell membranes, and this is to allow that gas exchange. So, as oxygen is being picked up by hemoglobin, the red blood cell can also release and swap out carbon dioxide, and that can happen vice versa to actually allow more oxygen to be picked up and transported around the body. Again, this will be discussed in a future video. Last but not least, as well, about this one, it has a biconcave shape, and this increases the surface area for gas exchange to occur. Let's look at some specialized plant cells then. The three that are really fundamental across the curriculum are the root hair cell, the xylem cell, and the phloem cell. Starting off then with the root hair cell, it has a large surface area to absorb water and mineral ions from the soil. Really important to know, although this is a plant cell, it does not contain chloroplasts. And that's because root hair cells are found in the roots of a plant, so right at the bottom in the soil. So they're not going to be able to absorb any light energy, and therefore they do not need chloroplasts. Xylem are really important in plants because they are found in the stem. They are essentially like hollow tubes that have a structural um, material called lignin within them. And this helps to thicken the xylem walls to essentially allow water and mineral ions to actually pass through in a one directional flow from the roots all the way to the top parts of a plant. The phloem cells are slightly different. Again, they're found within the plant stem, but they allow a two-way movement up and down to actually allow dissolved sugars and amino acids up and down and around the plant. Two areas that are worth mentioning here are companion cells, which actually are cells next to the phloem, which provide the energy for that movement, and also some other structures called sieve tubes that help with that transportation as well. Cell differentiation. This is just to further explain that cells all originate from one type of cell that have just a general structure. They actually differentiate as they develop and as they divide. And the reason cells differentiate is because of the cell structures within the subcellular structures, often called organelles, that enable them to carry out a very specific function. So, in animal cells, these differentiated cells occur early on in life. So when a sperm and egg cell, the nuclei fuse together, they form a zygote, and that zygote develops and divides over and over again and forms an embryo, a big cluster of cells. And as those cells develop specialized subcellular structures or organelles, they actually become differentiated, and that allows those cells to have a very specialized function. Plant cells, however, are very unique in that they can differentiate throughout their lifetime, which is quite useful for that plant. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for your time in watching. I've been the GCSE science teacher and you have been curious. If you want any further content or help with GCSE, please follow me on Instagram, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Thank you. Bye.